Welcome back to the shop. All right, today we're working on my wife's 2005 Suburban. It's got a fuel pump issue. About a year ago, I made a video on this. We started testing around for fuel pressure and didn't have any problems after a day we were driving it and lost a bunch of power. We did make it home that day, and since then we went a year, and about a month ago, the boys and I went across town to the Bass Pro Shops on Saturday and did it again. And got a little worried that we weren't going to make it back home, but we finally did. It came back around and got full power. When I got back, I did another test on it. I didn't record it. Fuel pressure was pegged. It wasn't low, but it was running fine when it was like that. It was pegged though. So what I'm thinking is going on is the fuel pressure regulator is going bad, and sometimes it's not allowing enough pressure to get any power, and sometimes it's giving it too much pressure, which can be a bad thing. It can overrun your injectors and wash down your cylinders and get oil, fuel in your oil and all that good stuff. But so I did it again about 2-3 weeks after that to my wife, and I had to go rescue her. Took the old rubber mallet trick to the bottom of the gas tank. And if you don't know that trick, sometimes if you have a fuel pump that doesn't want to run, the engine spins over but it's not running, and you know that the fuel pump's bad, or you think the fuel pump's bad, you can take a little rubber mallet, just whop on the bottom of the gas tank a little bit. Sometimes that'll get it going again. There's been hundreds and hundreds of cases where we've had cars towed in to my shop or to the dealerships I worked at that didn't have any fuel pressure. And what I will do when they come in and they spin over, they won't crank, I immediately go to the Schrader valve if it has one on the rail, and I put my finger on it. If it sprays out, I try to turn it over again and put my finger back on the Schrader valve and see if it squirts out again. And if it doesn't, then you know fuel's not being delivered up there. So it's usually the pump or wiring to the pump, or a relay or fuse or something. So usually I'll take a little rubber mallet, I'll go up under the tank and I'll pop it, or I'll hit it with my hand or kick it with my foot if I can get access. And a lot of times, I would say 9 times out of 10, it'll wake the pump back up and you can drive it into the shop. I've done that hundreds and hundreds of times over the years. So that's what I did with my wife on the side of the road. We went down there and popped it, and it woke back up and got it home fine. So, but we're tired of risking it for that. So we're going to put a pump in it today. So this is how I'm going to get we got about almost a half a tank of fuel in it. So we're going to try to get as much gas out of it as we can before we lower the tank. Just makes the procedure a whole lot easier with the least amount of fuel in it. We could do it with a fuel amount that's in it now, but I rather get as much out as possible. So I hook my fuel pressure gauge back up, and it has a bleed off button you can push, and fuel will come out this side. So I'm going to have it running into an old fuel jug. We're going to see how much gas we can get out of it. So this thing will still run. So we'll fire it up and get the fuel out like that. See the fuel pressure, it's 75. I've seen it all the way up to 100, which is no good. It's climbing a little bit. It's supposed to be like right around 60 on these. I think 59 or something like that. But yeah, so I haven't caught it yet when it's running bad with a fuel pressure gauge on it, but I can guarantee you it's down here somewhere, because it'll barely run. You may be having the same symptoms. The more you push on the gas pedal, the worse it runs. And it'll just cut itself out if you keep pushing down. If you barely let it, if you just take your foot off, it'll idle fine. And you just barely touch the pedal, it would go. But if you had to pull a big hill or something, it just wouldn't. That was what was going on with this one, and I've seen that in many others. And these GM fuel pumps are notorious for going bad. Some of them are notorious for burning the wiring connector up where the pump plugs into the harness. Hopefully we don't have that going on this one. I don't think it's an issue on this year model, but some of them, a lot of them had that problem. So anyway, we're going to start trying to push this fuel out into this jug by pushing this. Now it'll run down into there. We'll just let it run. There's other ways to do this. You can hook a hose straight, not run it through a gauge like I'm doing, and trip the fuel pump. We used to do that too at the shop. We would take the relay out for the fuel pump and take a jumper wire and make the pump run all the time, and just use a hose to pump it out. If the pump will run, but if your pump won't run at all, makes things a lot more difficult. You'll have to figure out a way to siphon it out, or sometimes you just have to lower the tank out with the fuel in it, which makes it very difficult and can get out of control. I've seen people drop tanks and rip the fuel lines out of the bottom of the car because the fuel sloshes to one side on whatever jack system. We use a transmission jack to lower the tanks out, but that's why I'm doing this. The less sloshing around, the better. And if it's full, which most of the time they are, it makes it real difficult. When you pull the pump out, fuel goes everywhere. Even when you pull the fuel filler hoses off the tank just to get the tank out, fuel starts spilling everywhere if you don't get a lot of fuel out of it. So we're trying to do it this way to cut down on the mess. I don't want to. All right, now that you got the gas out of it, in my case, I'm lucky enough to have a lift at my house, so I'm putting it up in the air. In your case, you may be laying on your driveway or in your garage. Once you got the fuel out of it, I like to get the fuel filler hose off. While my straps are on, I try to loosen that up and pop that hose off. And any hoses you can get to, any quick connects, I'll show you real quick. Go ahead and try to get those undone. But sometimes you have to lower the tank down a little bit, start popping that stuff off. Just depends on your scenario and how you can reach things. So I'm gonna, all right, so right above the rear end housing, and of course you got your gas tank. At the end of the gas tank, you got your filler hose coming in. You've also got a quick connect fitting there. You pinch it and it should pull out. And have to do that two-handed. You're gonna have several hoses in this area. You're gonna have to disconnect, and we're gonna work on that first. You got two tank straps, of course. You got a bolt on each side. That's the only thing that holds the gas tank in. You gotta get those down. What I'll do is put a transmission jack up under here with a board. In your case, you may be using a floor jack. That bad boy right there loosened up. Get her slid off. I like to get the clamp loose enough where I can get it up over the lip. Then we can pull the hose off. You can see up through there, I unplugged the hoses off the charcoal canister. I think that's necessary, but I can't remember. They clip in right here on the side of the tank. So I went ahead and popped those loose. I'm gonna flip the lock back down so they don't go back in. I just kind of bent that out a little bit so I can get to them. It's just 10, it bends right back. All right, we're gonna work on lowering this thing down a little bit. You can see this, but it's right by the tail shaft of the transmission or transfer case. There's a return line right there. That one goes back up to the front. We gotta, I think that's what that is. We gotta pop that quick connect off, get that hose undone too. I'm taking the bolts out for the straps, and we're gonna lower this thing down. Tip: make sure you relieve the pressure off the fuel pressure lines on that Schrader valve up top where I had that fuel pressure gauge hooked up. So when you disconnect any lines down here, it won't spray in your face. Straps down, out of the way. Tank's sitting on the jack. Like I said, that's why we get this fuel out of it. Make this thing light. If not, you can get off lopsided and make this tank fall, rip all the lines out that you forgot to unplug, which I'm sure I forgot to unplug some. And sometimes you can't even get to them until you lower it down some. So I can't remember on this one. Although I had this tank out a few times for charcoal canister problems, purge valve problems with it not taking fuel at the gas pump. I'm trying to go fill up at the gas station. Gas just keeps clicking like it's full. Pump keeps clicking off. So check those videos out. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, let's get this tank out so we can put this pump in here. All right, right at the end of the tank, there's a rollover valve or something on top. There's a big hose with a quick connect. You gotta get it off. You gotta kind of angle the tank down in the back like this to get it out, because it hooks in the front up over the cross member, and the filler hose and all that stuff's up above the rear end, so you gotta do some finagling. All right, it's a little bit of a wrestle. There is another fuel line in the front of the tank. I got the tank lowered down and stabilized. We'll go ahead and show you the top of the tank, show you everything that you need to be disconnecting. I couldn't remember everything without going through the paces of figuring it out as I was going, so I could have went back and looked at some of my old videos probably and refreshed my memory, but I didn't have time. All right, so my lighting is terrible. I can't find my headlamp. So up here in the corner, you've got another fuel line. It connects right here on the tank, so you need to get that one undone. This corner has got another one. Hopefully this is enough light. You've got your power cables, your connectors, your electrical connectors. You got one here, one here. You need to get those unhooked, and we're going to have to unhook these fuel lines, which these are the ones that you just unhooked in the front of the tank. You've got this big rollover or vent or whatever it is. And I think I needed to unplug. Did I? Yeah. Did I? I don't even know. Did I? Does that go there? Maybe I didn't need to unhook that. So you got these two that go to the charcoal canister. You got your filler and your vent. That's your vent. And the filler, of course, is on the back here. So you got your filler and your vent. Yeah, I didn't need to unhook that. Boy, it sure did look like it was in a bind when I was peeking through there. Let's go ahead and plug it back in, because I didn't need to unhook it. And I was struggling with that too. It looked like it was bent up. It may have been hanging on something. Don't know. Anyway, we're going to take a flathead screwdriver or a chisel or an extension or whatever, and just drive that lock ring. That thing just sits down and twists. So it's twisted to the lock position there, as you can see the slots. So we're going to drive it that way to move the slot to unlock it, and this will all just come out. But we're going to go ahead and pop these off. But I'm going to have two hands to do it. All this stuff will go back together fairly quickly, because it's designed to go together fast. It's not designed to come apart fast, because it's an assembly line kind of deal, you know. They don't make them easy to work on, but they make them easy to assemble quickly on an assembly line. So everything snap, pushes, clicks together. It's just a wrestle to get them unhooked without breaking them. All right, let's get this pump out of here. All right, hopefully you can see with my crappy little lighting situation we got going on here. So we'll just push these ears in. Probably be easier if I hook this and let some tension off. There we go. There goes the rest of the gas on my feet. All right, click that back in. Just leave that there. All right, so we'll drive this ring around. We'll be able to lift this pump module out of here. I made one hit before I pushed record. I forgot to hit record. Sorry. Me and my buddies used to sit around and laugh at car shows when we were like in high school and stuff, being gearhead guys, and we'd laugh at all the stuff that they would do, cutting the brake and all that kind of stuff when they were struggling, because the struggles are real in this industry. All right, so the lock is undone, and you just give it a wiggle. I can't see very good. give you a very good hold where this comes out of, do they? This car has 280,000 miles on it. Truck, Suburban, SUV, whatever you want to call it. A little over 280,000. I don't know if it's had a fuel pump before. Being a GM product, it probably has. Well, I need to unhook this line. Get some breathing room here. What is that? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to do some investigation. Alright. Oh, that is black coming out of there. I don't want that back in the tank. Dang. Man, there's some black, funky shit in there. You see that? I think that's all that carbon that from my charcoal canister when it exploded that time. Let's get this out of here. All right, let's pour this out. Let me show you. So I started pouring that fuel back in the tank. Look at that. No wonder this thing was doing weird shit with the fuel pressure. Where's the sock at? Did I knock it off pulling it out? Well, see all that black shit in there? That is, that's probably the carbon from that charcoal canister from my previous video. It's probably the charcoal from this emission system. It's probably what's been going on with this thing. It's probably picking that stuff up and clogging up the injectors or whatever. I don't think this thing has a filter in line. I've got to look it up. I don't believe it does. I assumed it would have a sock on the bottom of the pump, but it doesn't. And there's not one floating around down there. I thought for a second there it fell off. I can't find it in there, and the new one doesn't have one either. And this is not the right pump. Mine doesn't have this on it. So I got to return this to O'Reilly's. See, mine doesn't have that big tube. So something is not right there. I don't want to put that in. I don't have any way to plug that up. It came with this little cap, but it was already broken and had fallen off. So that ain't gonna seal anything. It's just gonna be nothing but a huge vacuum vapor leak. All right, fun. I gotta figure out how to get all that gas pumped out of there and wipe this tank out good. That's gonna be fun. All right, so got my right pump, got the pump switched out, got the right one, and ended up going to Wally World and finding one of these little battery operated siphons. So I'm gonna suck all the rest of this fuel out and dispose of it and wipe this gas tank out the best I can. These things don't have, the 05s and ups don't have fuel filters. They don't have a sock on the bottom of the pump like the old ones did. The filter is built into the pump module. The fuel pressure regulator is built into the pump module. So it's just a throw the whole fuel pump away type deal if your fuel filter gets clogged up or your fuel pressure regulator goes bad. On the older cars, like I think 04 down, you had a fuel pressure regulator you could replace. Most of them are on the rail, fuel rail, where the injectors are on the engine. And then you had a separate fuel filter on the frame rail you could replace. But they went for the all-in-one deal on this to make assembly faster. That's why they do that. Instead of having to put 3 different parts on, they put it all in one unit, stuff it in the gas tank, and go. It makes production a lot faster, but it makes maintenance terrible. And it is what it is. This thing's got 280,000 miles on it. We've got a ton of. We bought this thing with like 200,000 on it, 205. We've drove it for 5 years for a $5,000 vehicle. We've got our money's worth out of it. We did blow up a charcoal canister and it clogged the purge valve, which is in a previous video, like I've mentioned before. In this one, which clogged up all these lines. We had to blow chunks of charcoal bits out of all these lines that were plugged up, and I don't remember in those videos if I took the fuel pump out or not. I probably didn't, and I probably should have, because I didn't realize that a lot of it went in the tank, and that eventually clogged up that pump. And that's, we were having a regulator problem, or we were just having a high fuel pressure problem because of the stuff stuck in the filter of it, I guess. I don't know. Something goofy was going on, but this should take care of it. The sun's getting really bright on the end of this shop. I may be blown out where you can't see me right now, so I'm going to clean this fuel tank out, and then we'll put this thing back together. If you're having any fuel system problems, you know, with a GM, like you probably will, hopefully you get something out of that. And because if you Google, like if you look up a fuel filter for one of these, it shows it. And like if you look it up on O'Reilly's website, it shows a fuel filter, but these don't have a fuel filter, so they stopped it in 04 to my knowledge. All right, let's keep going. Clean this thing out. As much out as I can get out. It's not totally clean, but it's good as I'm going to get it. Hopefully the filter and the new pump will do the rest of the work. There's just so much fine black charcoal material still in there. I picked out a ton of little pebbles, and I've wiped it out. I've used a ton of shop towels. Excuse my mess. Yeah, we got it about as good as I can get it. So we're gonna put this new pump in and stab all this stuff back. All right, so this one does have a sock on the bottom. See that little filter on the bottom of this thing? The one I pulled out did not have that. And the one that I pulled out of the box that was wrong, the first part that they gave me that was wrong, did not have that. This one does. You can see this one's got the right amount of tubes coming out of the top compared to that other one. I don't know. I can't find it in there if it's floating around in there. You got me, man. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I was about to say, I've never put one of these kind of pumps in that didn't have a sock on the bottom. That's what the filter is. So I was assuming there's just another filter inside of there, which there is. I can see it down inside of there. I don't know if you can see that down here on the side where my thumb's at, but on the inside, there's another sock filter in there. So I don't know. Got me. But we got two filters on this thing, and hopefully that will filter the rest of that carbon dust and that I can't get out. Yeah, and it is what it is. We're going to put it back together. So we've got quite a bit of sunshine going on at the end of this shop. I'm going to try to squeeze all this in here. There we go. Oops. I gotta get my clip. You gotta reuse these factory quick connect clips, whatever you call them, fuel pump clips. And I don't know what this line is that hooks to the bottom of this pump. It dead ends. It looks like it dead ends in the front of the gas tank. I don't know what the hell it does. I'm so glad I don't work on cars full time anymore. They're so weird. These newer cars, and this isn't even a newer car. This Joker's an 05. But the newer ones, the newer they get, the more over-engineered they become. Oh, dang it, I put that on the wrong side. thing keeps jumping up on me. Gotta watch that O-ring, make sure it stays down. You're gonna have a gas leak. You'll be pulling your pump back out, your tank back out when you go to fill this thing up. Alright, so take your screwdriver and drive it back in. That's about all you gotta do. Get it to one of these clicks. You got a little razor right here, a little prise it up deal. I'm gonna give it a pop or two more, but that's it. Clip these back in. Give them a good tug. Make sure everything's popped, clicked in good. You don't have to take this tank back out, that's for sure. All right. Get my son to help me put this thing back up on the lift here. And you just you try that again. We'll just reverse procedure everything, which is just all quick connects. Put your filler tube back on, tighten the hose clamp, put your straps back on. You're good to go. Put fuel in it and then retest it. I'm not going to show all that. I think you get the gist of that. You just got to put these quick connects in, these fuel lines, your charcoal canister lines, your vent, your filler tube, straps to hold the tank in, and you're home free. Fill it back up with fuel, test her out. Hopefully you won't have any problems. Don't forget to plug your fuel pump back in. 2 electrical connectors there. That would be bad. All right, let's see what we can do here. We'll do a little fuel pressure test once we get it all back up in there. I went ahead and popped it from the other side, and it walked the locking ring off the rest of the way around. You can see it doesn't have any gap on this end anymore. It's good to go. All right, poured the fuel back in it. At least some of it I took out. I still got my fuel gauge hooked up. We'll bump the key a couple times, see what this fuel pump pressure looks like with this pump in. Yep, just like I thought, it'd be at 60. That's where it should be. Remember before at the beginning of the video, it was at 75. And I've seen it peg this gauge all the way out. And then when it's leaving us stranded in various places, I don't know what it's been doing because I could never catch it when I had the gauge hooked up. I did drive it around. Quite a bit with the gauge on it. Had it up on the windshield where I could see it while I was driving around with the hood shut, of course. And I never could get it to act up while I had the gauge on it. That's a year of testing it. And I didn't have the gauge on it for a year, but you know, I probably should have dropped this tank several years ago when I did the charcoal canister videos, but I didn't because it was running fine. It just wouldn't take gas. So anyway, if you have a charcoal canister problem, you probably need to pull the gas tank down and get all the charcoal out of the tank. It's probably got it in there like mine. You know, it is what it is. This old girl, 280,000 miles. I think it's got 282 or something like that on it. Still running like a champ. The lifter does tick, and I have made a couple videos on that. We try to put some additives in it. We try to change the 0-30. That kind of stuff did seem to help. But the lifter's got a mind of its own. As you can hear right now, you can hear the injectors firing, but no lifter ticking. But it's got a mind of its own. It usually does it when the kids are getting dropped off at school, or you're in the drive-thru at the Chick-fil-A or something like that. It starts ticking, tick, 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 and it gets loud too. but this old girl is still running really good. It had a tranny at about 180,000, I was told from the previous owners. We bought it at right over 200,000, 202 or 205 or something like that. But you know, fuel pump job done. I had to play in the gas tank way more than I wanted to today. I was hoping just to drop it, swap pumps real quick, but when I saw all that black stuff, I had to clean it out as best I could at least. All right, I feel confident. I'm gonna go put some gas in this thing for my wife, drive it around, make sure everything feels good, and ship it. If you stuck around this long, hit that like button for me, please. Do me a favor and do that. Hit that subscribe button if you can, and leave me a comment. Check out our other videos. We've got tons of them. All right, thanks for watching. Peace.